able to
This
see your
conference will now be recorded.
okay. I think yesterday what we are doing, click on preview. Yeah, so I think we are working for this component. So users can select the available courses and click on save and new, so that these courses we are going to store in one of the attribute. And what should happen when we click on save and new? Maybe in the same model, we are going to hide this dual box, and we are going to rename this header name and also this button name, and we are going to show one of the table in place of this. So that is what we need to do. So we are going to display these things. Okay, so here again, this delete and export all these actions. So that is a different component, and the table is a different component. We are going to develop those two components and display. Okay, so first let's go to the courses selection. So whatever the courses we selected, I think we are replacing comma with a semicolon. The reason is we are going to save this. Finally, we are going to save this whatever selected into the database into one of the field. Okay, so when we are saving, we are going to create one of the multi-select pick list for the registration object. Go to this registration object. Click on registration object. Click on new. So here I'm creating a multi-select pick list. Click on next. I'm giving the name as courses and values, giving admin div model LWC like this. So in general, in the background, in the backend, if you select multiple values, all the multiple values will be stored in the semicolon separated. Okay, so due to that reason, here in general, after choosing the values in the dual box, those are comma separated. We are replacing the comma with the semicolon, and the semicolon separated value we are keeping here. So this one, on click on save and next, whatever the course is selected into that registration record, we are going to update. So that's what we are going to do. Okay, so now here, so let's work on this. Now we are going to work on this. On click on this button, we are going to save this information into the database. The selected courses we save into database. On successful save, we are going to rename this button as OK, and also we are going to rename the heading. So this heading we are going to rename. So that's the thing we have to do. So here, instead of using the normal button, I'm going to use the lightning button. Okay, we have standard component lightning button label, save and new, and the variant I'm giving as brand, so that it will be displayed in the blue color. In the same way, for cancel, cancel. I'm not giving any variant so that the default variant is neutral. It is going to show that. Now all we need to do, on click, we are going to call one of the function. So I'll say save. So save courses selection. Let's say that is the function name. Now in the controller, so I'm going to introduce one of that function, and the function defining component. We can also mostly we write in the helper to avoid the confusion. I'm directly writing the logic here. Okay, so here once we click on the save, all this information should be saved into the database. So when we refer this component, to this component, we are going to refer this component inside the registration. Okay, here inside this in the demo registration, once we click on show estimate, that is the point of time we are going to display this one, right? So but when we are planning, maybe still I am not adding to focus on what we are developing. We are going to supply the record ID into this component, because in the demo registration, the previous component, we are saving the record and the record ID is there in the demo registration component in one of the attribute. We are going to supply the record ID. Okay, I think still we did not add, so we are going to supply. We need record ID to update. Okay, so here I am defining one of the attribute, or attribute name equal to record ID, type equal to string. This will be record ID which will be supplied from demo registration component. Okay, once we have that ID, so for now, in order to know, so this is working. Okay, so simply I'm just I'm going to hard code one of the record ID. I'm copying this record ID. For now, if you see the courses are not there. Okay, I'm hard coding later. We are going to replace this one. Okay, so as a default, I'm giving this record ID. Okay, so for this record, after we select the pick list values, whatever we select here, we have to update that record. So that's the aim. Okay, so we have hard coded that record ID. Now we have to focus on this. So for that, I think we should have the one of the Apex class. So create a Apex class to save this information, right? So Apex class, and also if you want to follow this documentation, I have also mentioned what are the different components we are going to create, right? So I'm following this name, file, new, Apex class. I'm defining one of the method and create Aura enable public static. We are following some kind of framework, right? Object and update course. Okay, to this we are going to accept, say, input map. Inside that, say, output map. Okay, so maybe if you want as a default is success, the default I'm saying false. And also returns output map. So this is what we are doing. Okay, so here we are going to assume that we need to get the record ID. One is record ID. Record ID is equal to in the input map dot get with the as a key with the record ID. So we have to supply the record ID. But we get in the object format. We are typecasting into string, storing into that record ID. In the same way, comma, the selected records also will be set, right? The selected, so we have a variable selected courses. We supply, maybe we are also expecting the same thing. Okay, so I'm just getting that. So that's it. Maybe somehow here I'm creating. If you want to work here, you can also work here, right? So maybe quickly let me get this class. So I don't want this. So whatever just now we created, I'm trying to get that. Okay, so now let's open. Can also work here. Okay, so this is how we are doing. And once we get that, all we need to do update, right? So updating that registration record, registration underscore C. So registration is equal to new registration underscore C. Here we have to supply the record ID, comma. We need to update courses. One of the multis select pick list is equal to in this that string is there, which is commas, which is semicolon separated. All we need to do update. While updating, it might be succeeded or it might be failed. Try catch here exception here into this output map. In case of success scenario, dot put will say e success is true. In case of failure scenario, the message I want to add. If it is not success, that means it is failure. Simply I'll append whatever the exception it produce. Same thing, e dot get message in line number e dot get line number. Yeah, I'm returning that. So that's it. This is what this method will do. Okay, now our aim is we need to call this method. Okay, copy this. We need to call this method from the courses selection, this component. Okay, so Here, for now, let's close it to focus on that. In this JS, from here we need to call. Okay. First of all, is that class is connected to this component. We need to connect it to this component controller, and I have connected to this component. Now we need to call creating action. I'm not again keeping more comments already. Many times we are calling, right? So here c dot name of the method in that class. The method name, whatever we need to call, is this. Okay, and we need to set the parameters. We need to form those like this. Now we have attributes, record ID, component dot. We have an attribute v dot record ID, which will hold the record ID, and also with this name, the selected courses which are semicolons operator we are sending. Okay, so from attribute to read v dot that attribute name. Finally, this one we need to set as parameter to that method instance action dot set params in the object format input map is equal to our variable name is also input map. This is to set the parameter, and method called $a dot enq action method call, and callback to handle callback set callback always this, and second function. This is a callback function. The response giving like this, and get the state constant state is equal to. Already we discussed many times. Quickly I'm typing. Okay, state if state is equal to success. So what you want to do, else and just for now in else situation I'll say error with the state. Okay, if I'm doing some mistakes, just let me know. Console.log and response dot. I want to get the error. In case of error, to see that error. So in case of success scenario, right, output map we get. So response dot get return value. So this will be having that output map. So now from that I'm checking is success if we are going to display the error. Maybe to display the error, we are going to reuse one of the alert, whatever the alert component is there. Maybe we'll be using that one. Okay. So that one quickly, if you want demo registration component, from that we can copy a demo registration component. Maybe all the to hold all the error related information, these attributes I want. This again I'm keeping here, and also to show the alert message, this is the one in our component. I'm going to place that on top of our dual box, dual multi-select list. This. Okay, all we need to set the message and the severity, right? So here in our component dot set v dot message. In case of error, from output map we are going to get that message, right? Whatever the message is there, that one. And also we say severity level set. We have v dot severity. I'm giving the severity level as error. This will display the error message. In case of success scenario, I'm not going to display any message. So what we do, our aim is on success. We have to do two things. So one is rename the model header. The other one is rename the button to OK. These two things we need to do. Okay. So maybe here to rename the model header, go to that UI. This is the UI. Heading, scroll down, scroll up, and where we are seeing heading, this one. So here we have ID, right? Model heading, maybe same ID I am using. Copy. Based on this ID, I'm going to identify this one and change this text to courses selection estimation, something like that. Courses fee estimation, like that I want to rename. Okay, so based on the ID, if you want to get in JavaScript, we use document dot. You can use get element by ID, or you can also use query selector. Query selector, and here, if you want to, if you are using ID, based on the ID, if you are getting, we have to use this hash. Yeah, that means we are searching for ID, and this is the ID of the element. It will recognize that element. This is the entire of from the UI, this entire H2 element. From that, inside that, whatever the content is there, I want that. In JavaScript, the inside text content, if you want. Okay, so we use text content. Okay, that one we are going to replace that with, say, courses fee estimation. Okay, I'm going to do that. This will replace the model header. And the other one, I want to rename the button. If you remember, whenever we click on a button, if it is HTML element, we need to use event.target. If it is a lightning element, here this is lightning component, standard lightning component, we need to use event.getSource. Whenever we click on this button, that time only it is calling this function, whatever we're writing the logic. So to get that, we'll say event.getSource. Okay, so from this is like entire button. From that, I want to rename the label, right? I think it should be save and next. I want to rename the label. So get that label dot get, right? So either it is standard component or custom component. To get the attribute, we have to say v dot, right? V dot name. Right? You can use single quote or double quotes. That's your wish. So v dot label, but we don't want to get it, right? I want to replace that. If you want to assign a value to the attribute, what we use, set, right? And also I'm using set. And here I'll say okay. I'm assigning with okay. Okay. Just understand that. Okay. So that's it. So it will do all those things on successful save. Okay. And also on successful save, to know that we are going to display pop-up right in this course selection itself. Below to this, maybe we are going to hide this. We are going to hide this dual box, and we are going to display a table and a table actions as per the mockup. You see here this table and this buttons, all those things. There are two components we are going to show. Okay. For that, so what I'll do, I'm going to define one of the attribute to know whether we need to show the table or not. Okay. So I'm defining one of the attribute to hide or show the courses table. For that, we are going to use this boolean Aura attribute name show table type boolean. By default, we are not going to show default false. Okay. Now, based on this, so this dual box, whatever we are showing here, this we decide. I'm using Aura if is true. We are going to show this not v dot show table. That means if it is false, show table is false, then we are showing this dual box. Else, right, to deal with the else scenario, we use Aura set, right? Aura set attribute else. That means if show table is equal to true, that time it will come here. Here, one part is data table courses table actions. And I'm giving break just for our understanding. In this place, we are going to add one component and the courses table here. These two we are going to place in future. Okay, for now, still those are not created. I'm giving like this. Okay. So now, so let's save it. So far, what should happen on successful save? We should see the button should be renamed, and also the header model header should be renamed, and this should be hidden, and we should see that. But we have to say show data table when we decide to show the data table on success. Right? So here component dot set. Here we say v dot show data table show table true. So I'm giving that now. So let's see how exactly it is behaving. I'm deploying this entire component. Okay, so if you remember, we have hard coded one of the record ID. After successful save, we will see here something is added. Then we can say it is working. Later, we are going to replace that hard coded value. Just refresh. So choose this. I'm choosing, so let's say I'm choosing everything. I'm clicking on save, save and next. Okay. Next time I'm going to rename that. Okay, so save. If you see after saving, the button is renamed to OK. The model header is changed to courses fee estimation. So I think whatever we decided is so far working fine. Okay. Now, so I think one of the slide change. So this slightly we need to, it is supposed to be save and next. So that is one thing. And also instead of struggling later, so once we click on OK, right? Or once we click on close, or once we click on cancel or OK, or anything we click, it has to close this pop-up, right? So maybe instead of working for that components and come back and confusing, let's deal with that and later we are going to work on those components. Okay. So for this component, one of the pending part is we need to click on this close or here. Obviously the pop-up should be closed. Now if you see this courses selection, this pop-up basically for now I'm just keeping in this test tab here, right? But not here. So where exactly we are going to keep that? We are going to keep that in the demo registration here. Somewhere here we are going to keep that. Let's say here to show the courses selection screen. Here we are going to keep that. But so this one dynamically we are going to control whether to show or hide. Okay. For that to display or not, to show the courses estimation screen or not, I'm going to take one boolean value, one of the attribute. Okay, so here to show or hide the courses selection screen. Okay, so here I'll say is dual list screen, something like this. Otherwise, show dual list screen. By default, false. Okay, we are going to make it true in one of the scenario. Again, we need to come back and slightly change this component also. For now, here I'll say arrive. For now, for our testing purpose, by default, I am showing when we click on one of that close, it should hide. So, if is true. So by default, I am showing for now because we don't want to again save and spend more time. For now, by default, it will show. Okay, so now maybe save this. Registration deploy. Now whatever we see is from this demo registration. In the application, I have removed. Now, if you see that pop-up, that is due to this demo registration in that we have added. Now here you are seeing. Now here, when you click on this one or this one or this one, we have to close. Now this cancel or OK or close, all those buttons are in which component? Those are in this component, in the child component, right? In this component, if you do something and it should reflect, it should make changes into the parent component. One of the straightforward way is using two-way data binding. We supply one of the attribute, right? So whatever the value present in this, we supply in the child component. When you change, automatically it will reflect here. That is one way. Let's say due to some reason, if there is a need to fire the event. So for our demo, we should also know about how we fire the component event. Let's say in the child component, when you click on any one of the component event we are going to fire, the component event will propagate from by default bubble phase from child to parent. Here, this is the direct parent. Demo registration is the direct parent, so it can propagate to that. So let's fire one of the component event from the courses selection screen. Okay. Now to fire, what we have to do, we are going to first need to create the component. First create the Aura component. Create Aura component. And here I think I also mentioned what are the events we are going to create. So close pop-up event. Okay, let's follow the same terminology here. Aura component. Creating one of the component event. Sorry, I suppose it to I don't want this. Okay, I suppose it to create the event. I think I created the component. So let's wait. SF1 Aura event. Aura event. This is the one. Here I will say component event. To hide the courses selection screen. Event will be triggered from courses selection to demo registration component. This is just for our understanding. Okay, so what exactly you want to supply? We are going to supply one of the attribute, whether to show or hide attribute, and name of the attribute, show. Otherwise, I'll say is display type boolean. Okay, this is the attribute it is going to accept. Okay, now let's deploy this. This event we need to fire in the courses selection and handle in demo registration, which is parent. Okay, so now go to the courses selection, which is child. From here, event will propagate to parent demo registration. Here, handler to sorry. Here we have to register, right? We have to handle in the parent. register the component event which can be handled in demo registration component. Okay, so here Aura, think register event, name of the event. So here, what is our event name? We took close pop-up. Yeah, it's like we are creating one instance of that, right? Close pop-up event instance, just for our understanding. For that, we can create multiple instances. And the type, what is the type? C colon. This is the exact name. This is the component name. This is the way how we register. Obviously, we have to get this and file from JS controller. At what point of time you want to fire it? Okay, so in the controller, I'm going to add one of the function. Okay, in the controller on the UI. So on the UI, we are registering. Here we are going to write function. I'll show you when exactly we need to call this function. I'll say file close pop-up event. And this is the name I'm using. Okay, so function component and event. So inside this, to file, first we need to find, right? So component dot get event. What is the instance name of the event? This is the one. Event. This is the instance name, right? Get that, and now I'll say close pop. Okay, so that is a name I'm giving, and we need to set the parameters dot set params. We have only one attribute is display, right? So let's apply that is display height, right? False. We want to make that as false, right? And finally fire it dot fire. Already we discussed about the events here in the project we are using, right? So fire it to fire the component event which can be handled in demo registration. So like this. So okay, so this is a event which is firing. But when we are going to call this function, we have three buttons. One is when you click on OKR. So when you click on OK, that is one scenario. But OK, but this button we are also saving, and we are also need to close it. When to close, when to fire the event. Based on the label, I want to decide. already when you click on this button, so when we click on this button, we are calling save courses selection, one of the function, right? In this function, what I do when we click on this, so I want to get that label. Anyway, to get that here, I think event dot here we are replacing, right? Same thing we are using to know we clicked on that button when it is save and new or okay. Here get constant that button label, whatever we click. Okay, so here I'm going to take one if condition. Here I'm going to take one else condition. This entire thing, one else condition taking. Okay, so here if this button label is equal to okay, so that time I want to fire the event. But firing event logic, I think we wrote in this here, right? But reusing will be difficult if you keep here. That's why this logic I'm keeping in the helper handle. Maybe this is the logic. We're going to supply component comma event, and maybe function name I'll say handle fire close pop-up event. Okay. Now that way this can be reusable. From this function we are going to reuse helper dot, and since we are using helper, this should have helper component comma event. So that way from here when we call we use, and also here we have a situation when we click on the save and next button, maybe when it is renamed and if it is okay, that point of time instead of really saving, we are going to fire the event, right? The button name is okay, fire the component event. If it is save and new, save and new, save and next, then save the selection in database. Okay. Same action, but we are doing different things based on the label. So we are reusing. Now,
Srini,
when
we need to add helper as well over there, right?
Sorry, where?
Helper.
Helper here?
No, we have to add a helper because we are calling it from after OK.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Here I am not using helper. Yeah. Here we have to use helper. Okay. Now scroll down, and this is also fine. Now this one in two situations we need to call. Anyway, the event will fire when this method is taking care. But when you click on cancel, the time specially calling this function, which will further calling the helper function. Same thing, we have that close in the model for the close window for this button. Also calling and firing. This is all to close the event, right? Now firing part is done. So we are firing and we are supplying sorry, is display, I think, is display that value. In the helper, if you see is display, this value we need to handle, catch in the demo registration component. Go to the demo registration component. Demo registration component UI. Go to that UI. So we need to handle. We have to use the handler. Right? Here I'm using one more handler, Aura. Handler name is equal to what is the instance name we provided here while registering this one. Copy that. That's the name of the event. What is the event? C colon the event name. I think here the exact label we have giving. Okay, now when we get when this identify that event. So what exactly want to do action? Here we write. Right? So here I'll say c dot close pop-up courses pop-up. Let's say this is the function we are going to call. So now in the JS demo registration component JS, right, from here, go to that controller. In the controller, we are defining one of the functions with the name. Right? So here I'm giving. Now, so here we have to handle that. Okay, so in the component event, if you want to get the parameters, event dot.
You mean brackets are wrong, no? Brace bracket, you have to do brace bracket.
So here event dot get para. Okay, so here is display. That is what we are supplying. Spelling is wrong. Is display, and I'm storing this into display, one of the variable, and we need to set this. Maybe directly we set this component dot set v dot the variable name we need to give. So here for this demo registration, go to the UI element. This is the value, right? For this, we need to supply false to hide it. I'm going to supply false for that. Again, go to the controller, supply to this, right, which will hide or show that course selection pop-up. Okay, after handling parameters supplied by this component event. Okay, so now this is already we are calling from handler. So first let's save this, deploy, and also this cursor selection. Okay, now if everything is correct, we have to see this is going to hide this. Okay, now just refresh. Somehow by default we are showing. Later we will also by default hide it and later show it and close it. Now if I click on this or cancel this, close it. Right? Again, refresh. Cancel. Yeah, now also it is okay. Refresh. And also one more scenario. And also after updating, after we updated here, we did not check. So really it is updated or not previously, right? So looks like it is not updated, right? That also we need to fix. So let's again check now. I think we are hard coding this. So after saving, we are expecting that record should be saved into database. Let's also see these logs and also try to debug. I think I'm not saying it is saved. Why it did not save? I have to somehow identify. So for that, save courses selection here. So what is happening? If something is going wrong, need to check. Quickly, I'm adding debugger here. Okay, now let's observe the behavior here. I'm adding everything. Inspect. We are debugging what is happening, and also see the logs here. Something is wrong in the server. Now when we click on save, so now it started debugging line by line. Okay, so now next. Something unusual here is only happening. Somehow something I have defined. Did I define something constant and changing? That might be one of the problem. So this event get source get button label. It can be a constant. It's not, should not be a problem. Here server method also called record ID selected. I think everything came here. Update. I think, okay. Maybe I did not refresh this. It is saving. I think it is saving. Maybe we did not test it later. Okay, so now it is saved. That functionality is working. Now go back. Okay, now okay, right? When we see okay, now we have to see whether it is. Now also it should close. Okay, it is closing. So that means everything about that pop-up is working fine. Okay, so the next thing, in these two places, whatever the UI of this one is there, here we are going to introduce two components in these two places. I think since we don't have time, those two components we develop tomorrow, and it might take maybe, looks like it is very easy, but there will be many scenarios. Okay, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow also it will take to complete all this project in a full-fledged way. Then, so one of the final example, I think I explained about the Lightning Data Services, LDS. LDS means Lightning Data Services. Using Lightning Data Services, there are some standard components from Salesforce: record form, record edit form, view form. I think to cover that, I'm going to take one more small project. I think next 2 days, and in next 4 days we complete this Aura. And I have shared JavaScript videos. So I recommend you to watch those videos. It will be helpful for you to understand some complex JavaScript things. Even when you see in some documentation, those will be useful. And also, whatever I have shared, that is not fully covering the what we deal with the LWC. In LWC, we use a modern JavaScript like a class, object, such kind of modern terminology. So I want to just, I'm checking. Do you want me to explain about those concepts? Are we straightforward? We can go with LWC.
Sure, it will be helpful if you explain those.
Yes,
You are fine?
please.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, because I told that the duration is 6 weeks, but this Aura itself is taking 1 month. So just checking. Sometimes people don't want to extend more. Okay, so what we do after this? So take maybe, so next week, first 2 days, I'm going to maybe complete this Aura syllabus. After that 3 days, just watch whatever I shared. And after that 1 week, whatever the videos I shared to you for the JavaScript, the next thing, right from there, the next topic, whatever is there, will continue for 1 week and complete all what we need for LWC. Then we start with LWC. Okay. So I believe it is fine with you. So
Yeah,
we'll proceed.
sounds very good.
Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.